Welcome to another edition of Our City. A few things going around the city of Elizabeth this week. On Thursday, October 8th at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to join the Elizabeth Coalition to Shelter the Homeless. It's their 4th annual Greater Elizabeth Transportation, Logistics, and Distribution Recognition Breakfast. This event will be held at the Crown Plaza Hotel, located at 901 Spring Street. If you have time, come on out and support the Coalition to Shelter the Homeless. Later that afternoon at 3 o'clock, a birthday celebration for Lieutenant Colonel, United States Air Force, retired Mr. Milton Shapiro at Amber Court at 1135 East Jersey. I believe he will be 102 years old. I was at his 100th birthday, and he's a great guy, and I look forward to celebrating his birthday with him that day. On Friday, October 9th, at 11:30 in the morning, I'm going to attend the Estuary Day at the Peterstown Community Center. This is a great day for students to learn about the city of Elizabeth and our relationship with the local and regional clean water issues in our area. Later that evening, the Oktoberfest celebration will be held at Shipco Transport, located at 699 Kapkowski Road at the entrance to the Jersey Gardens Mall. It's a great company here in our city, and they're celebrating their history and Oktoberfest on that day. Sunday, October 11th, I'm going to join a celebration Association of Pro Cuba. On October 10th, 1868 is the commemoration. This event will be held at 9-13 Morrell Street. And also that day, in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, the O'Donnell Dempsey Center will be hosting a Moving New Jersey Forward. This free event will feature over 10 different ethnic groups who display their food, music, folklore performances, games for kids, and much more. And I'd like to remind all of you that City Hall will be closed on Monday, October 12th, in observance of Columbus Day. Please remember, October 12th, City Hall will be closed in observance of Columbus Day. If you need more information concerning these events or any other events, please call our Public Information Office at 908-820-4124. So please stay with us after these messages, where I'll be joined by Mr. Chris Lisi, who is the fire prevention specialist here in our city during October, which is Fire Prevention Month.
Sometimes you learn by helping others learn. Kane University.
Welcome back to our city, where I'm pleased to be joined by Mr. Chris Lisi, who is our fire official here in our city. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mayor.
Now, you're the head of the Fire Prevention Bureau, and you go to schools and a lot of other things. Tell us what the fire prevention does, where it's located.
It's located 411 Irvington Avenue, 3rd floor, and our main job is to safeguard the community from fires and loss of life through education, enforcing the code enforcement, and by the inspection of multifamily residences and commercial buildings.
So, Chris, tell us what goes on during October, during Fire Prevention Month.
A lot of things. A lot of demonstrations of the schools, a lot of people calling us up to assist them in doing lectures for fire prevention, fire drills in both the home and the schools, if that's what they want, and we talk about the fire safety portion of it, smoke detectors.
So, Chris, it's important. Tell us about how important a smoke detector is.
I can't say how important they are. They save lives. The data shows that between the hours of 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. is when a lot of the issues happen with fires. And
between 6 p.m. and 11 p.m.
Yep. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. 11 p.m. and 6 p.m. when people are sleeping.
11 p.m. and 6 a.m.
I'm sorry, 6 a.m.
Okay.
When the people are sleeping, and these smoke detectors go off when there's smoke in the building.
And if there's smoke in the building, the smoke detector goes off. In most cases, that loud shrieking noise is going to wake you up.
That's correct. And we want you to get out, go to a neighbor, and call 911.
So, Chris, tell us about how often do you think they need to test them, change the batteries if they're battery operated? or some are plugged into the electrical system, right?
That's correct. There's a battery operated by themselves, the older detectors, and the newer detectors are electrical in nature. And what happens is when you activate one of the detectors, the whole building goes off to let everybody know that the detectors are activated. And besides the electrical portion of it, they also have a battery backup. So if you lose your electrical power, you still have your battery backup to let you know if something's happening.
So you have them both, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So when you meet with kids and you talk with them about Fire Prevention Month, do the kids, you know, do you still do stop, drop, and roll?
Yes, we do. We also show them how to use a smoke detector, how to test it, to press the button. We tell them, as well as their parents, that, you know, daylight savings time is the time to change the batteries. Change the batteries every 6 months, and test them every, you know, annually, once a month. Make sure they're working properly.
So, Chris, I remember we had a fire in the house. My daughter was 4, and when she came downstairs, the first thing she said as we were getting out of the house is, "Daddy, when do I stop, drop, and roll?" And I kind of got a kick out of it because we clearly were able to get out of the house in plenty of time, but here was a girl that was 4 years old, and she remembered that.
That's great. Stop, drop, and roll is when your clothes catch on fire. You don't want to run, because what you're doing is you're giving that fire the oxygen that it needs. So you stop, you drop, you roll, and extinguish the fire by rolling.
And that usually happens.
Absolutely, yes.
National Fire Protection Association has chosen Hear the Beep When You Sleep. What is that for Fire Prevention Week?
We want you to have a smoke detector in your bedroom. In each bedroom, we want you to have a smoke detector, an operating smoke detector, meaning 9-volt battery are working properly, and the detector itself is working properly. And if it's an old detector, replace it.
Tell me, Chris, how many of you think smoke detectors are necessary for a house and where they should be located?
Well, smoke detectors should be in each bedroom. Carbon monoxide detectors should be in the hallways, okay, on each floor, and even in the basement. So when you do have a carbon monoxide, which is the fire is not complete, okay, and you get this colorless smoke and colorless gas, and you can get overcome with the toxic.
Sometimes you might have a leak in the basement, though, right? A carbon monoxide detector.
And that's why you want to have that carbon monoxide detector right in the bottom of the staircase as it comes up.
Those incidents, do they happen more in the winter because the windows are closed?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily? No, not necessarily. You know what I mean? We find when people lose the electrical power to their house, they start getting generators. And then what they do a lot of times is they don't ventilate the generators properly. Sometimes they put them in the garage. They don't open the doors. And then what happens is they get overcome with the carbon monoxide.
Tell us how that happens, a generator in the garage. How does that back up like that?
Well, what happens is you need ventilation. Any furnaces, boilers, generators, you need ventilation, you need the proper air exchange. If you don't get that proper air exchange, it doesn't burn properly. It doesn't do what it's supposed to do. So what happens, you get the gas, carbon monoxide, it builds up, and what happens is it takes over your oxygen cells, all right? In the beginning, you get dizzy and lightheaded, and before you know, you become unconscious.
So, Chris, you said before that you should change and test them. Is it when the clocks change? Is that a good measurement?
Yes, absolutely. Yep, daylight savings time. Yes,
yeah.
when we change the clocks.
And that's a good time to.
That's absolutely the best time.
Because that's kind of remember it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Do we make all the schools, as many as possible? And what grade What grade is a good grade to start in?
All of them. All the schools, right from the beginning. Teach the little guys right from the very beginning, and as they become older, we're there and we're reinforcing what we've taught them from the beginning. And
do we do fire alarms and things like that in schools still? Does that happen? Is that mandated by law, and
yes,
how many has to be done? Tell us about that.
It's required by code. Once a year, it has to be tested. We need to get the paperwork from the schools, the Board of Education, that the alarms were tested. We also do fire drills on a regular basis. So we'll come into your school, we'll do a fire drill, we'll witness it. What we'll do is we'll have them activate the pull station for the fire alarm. From that point, it goes to the monitoring company. The monitoring company will call our dispatch center, and then they'll dispatch the fire department. But they'll give me the times, and we average 3 to 4 minutes, which is good.
That's a good response time.
Yes.
And the kids are usually cooperative, right? And plus, they get out of school.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
They interrupt their period and get out of school. Chris, is there such a thing as interconnected alarms?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's the electrical wiring that I was telling you about before. What happens is on the newer construction, what happens is they interconnect all electrical circuits from each smoke detector. In the hallways, it could be in the bedrooms, it could be in the apartments themselves. In the hallways, they're all interconnected. So if one goes off, they all go off.
And can that interconnect smoke and carbon monoxide?
There are in the making right now that yes, you can get both carbon monoxide and the regular smoke detectors together. Yes, they're combinations. Yes.
So the smoke alarm sounds. Do you get out of the house? Do you call? What do you do first?
Well,
especially in the middle of the night. Look for your kids, I guess, right?
Absolutely. You have to find a place for for you to get together with your children if the alarm goes off, wherever it may be. I suggest on the outside of the house. Call 911. Go to a neighbor, your cell phone, whatever the case may be. Call 911 and get the help. It might be too late before you call. We want you to call before. So once those smoke detectors go off, that's your initial response. Go, get out.
Get out.
Get out.
And then call.
And then call.
Yeah, get out first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So candles, fires, are they preventable, and any other type of home fires that can be prevented with the proper education?
Absolutely. Candles, for one thing, I'm dead against candles. Open flame. People put candles next to curtains, they're bedding, you're asking for trouble. Electrical outlets, they overload them. Instead of having 2 plugs, they put 4 plugs, 5 plugs. That's not what it's made for. Electrical extension cords, they're not permanent cords. They're only as a temporary measure, but people use them for a permanent measure.
So those space bars that you see in a lot of houses, I know I have them, a space bar, and you have different things plugged in, but they only use it.
Yes.
Are they good or bad?
Well, if there's 4
Four
plugs on them, that's what you use, 4 plugs. But we find people put another addition to those 4 plugs onto the 1 plug.
But you have the 4 plugs in a space bar that are going into 1 plug in the wall.
Right.
And in most cases, those 4 plugs are never operating at the same time.
That's correct. Plus, they have a fuse.
They have a fuse.
And they'll pop. And
Oh, I see what you're saying.
and you have your GFI.
Okay.
So your breaker is supposed to pop before something happens.
So those things are usually safer than plugging all 4 things into a wall.
Correct.
Okay. And that's the purpose of them.
That's correct.
And you would encourage the use of them
Absolutely.
if done properly.
Absolutely.
Okay. Home fire detectors should. How about apartment houses? I mean, do they rely on the hallway in apartments, or should you have them in your own apartment as well?
The hard wire, by code, in the apartment buildings, the hard wires are in the hallways, in the common areas, we call them. If it's a newer building, then you get the hard wired in each apartment. It depends on the age of it. We suggest, all hard wire. All right, but that's not going to happen. We understand that. So at least you get the battery-operated smoke detectors in each apartment, as well as a CO detector, or now the combination smoke detector and CO detector. And they're also making batteries that are good for 10 years. They're sealed.
So, but then you don't have to replace them.
That's
is what
correct.
You're telling me?
You just put the detector up, and they're set.
So you don't have to replace those batteries every 6 months.
That's correct.
If you have one of those.
That's correct.
So. Last question before the break. Apartment buildings. Do landlords provide smoke detectors, or is that up to the individual renter?
2 things. When I go, or my people go and do the inspections, we go into the apartments and we check them. We tell the landlord or the super, please change them. We also explain to the people in the apartments that if the alarms are going off and it's the battery is only a couple dollars. Go and get a battery. You know what I mean? And we also now have in my office, we have batteries available. And we put them on each of the fire trucks. So if they go to alarm activation and the batteries are, the smoke detectors are beeping, we can give them a 9-volt battery.
So we'll do it.
Pardon me?
We'll do it.
We'll do it, sure, definitely.
Okay. Stay with us. We're going to run some commercials and we'll come back and talk more about Fire Prevention Month in the City of Elizabeth.
Sure.
Please stay with us after these messages. We're back with more with Chris Lissy, the fire official here in our city during Fire Prevention Month.
We're an American original, dependable, historic, nuanced, with all the comforts of home